Do you suffer from painful, heavy periods, PMS, mood swings, or migraines? Are you tired of being told they are just normal parts of life? Or are you afraid your child's going to suffer these symptoms too? At Vividus, the full of life company, we take the pain, misery, and confusion out of those menstrual cycles and replace them with tools of empowerment and time management so you can be Vividus. Visit embracingflowpodcast.com for more information on transforming your cycles from ow to wow. Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.
Ever felt frustrated being told PMS, heavy bleeding, and cramping are just normal parts of life? You're not alone. I loathed my monthly cycle for decades. That all changed when I earned 3 health coaching certifications discovering something incredible. Your period is vital. It is an outward sign of your inner health, and it holds the key to unlocking your full potential. I've been there battling heavy, painful periods, and I turn them into cycles with minimal PMS and cramping. Today, I'm on a mission to share that information with you. Pour a cup of your favorite drink, get comfy, and grab your headphones as we embark on a candid and empowering journey of self-discovery. Together, we'll demystify menstrual cycles, explore cyclical living, delve into natural birth control, and guide parents through those crucial period talks with tweens and teens. It's time to break the taboo around menstruation and embrace the wisdom it holds. I'm your host, Heather Almendinger, and this is the Embracing Flow podcast.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us on Embracing Flow. I'd like to introduce our guest today, Dana-Sofie. All right, I'm going to try and pronounce this. Slancarova.
Slancarova, yes.
Slancarova. Dana-Sofie, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm great. I just came from vacation in Slovakia. I live in the Czech Republic. That's why I have such a strange name to pronounce. And I spent great time with my kids who were in the menstrual period, as we just talked before we started this conversation.
That they were. Always the menstrual thing.
Yeah.
Listeners, this is why I have Dana-Sofie on Embracing Flow. She is a cycle success catalyst, empowering driven women entrepreneurs to harness the superpowers of their feminine cycle to skyrocket their business, make more money, create more ease, and manifest the impact they've always envisioned. She's built a very successful female movement, impacting hundreds of thousands of women in the Czech and Slovak republics. Her motto is, your cycle, your PMS, your periods don't have to be your worst enemy in your business, but your greatest ally. I love that. I love that motto. It is so true. Once you understand your body and you go with the flow with it, so many things change. Our bodies are beautiful. They really, truly are, and they're miraculous. It just, yes.
Yes,
you know
yes,
that.
yes,
I
yes.
know that.
I totally get it. You know, there were times when I wanted to be a man, when I just wanted to be that linear all the time, having no mood swings and energy swings. But once I realized how I can, harness it according to the 4 phases, I do not want anything else, because I can be so much more than just the linear thing or being. Yeah.
So linear's boring.
Yes. Well, and I can tell you, I had several, I had courses that were for women and men, but sometimes I had courses that were for women, but men came as well. And after we finished that course, they were like, oh, we would like to be women. We would like to experience all these changes throughout the month. Yeah.
It having those eye-opening experiences for those that do have that linear hormonal flow versus those that have the fluctuations, just opening that communication is beautiful. It really truly is, because they're then understanding why our emotions go the way they do, why we're not the same every single day, every week, every month. It's an eye-opening experience for them. They understand it, so that way we then can communicate better with our friends, with our coworkers, with our spouses, our partners, our kids. But before we go into all of that, I ask all of my guests if they would be open to sharing their first experience of their cycle, one of their first experiences with their cycle, and about what age. And the beautiful thing is, we're hearing an Eastern European
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, story, which is completely different than what we've heard before. Because almost all of my guests have been, I think the furthest I've gone east is uh, Great Britain or
Okay.
Scotland. So this is a little bit further eastern and completely different culture than what my listeners have heard before. So please, would you be open to sharing your
Yeah,
story?
yeah. Well, I was born during the communist regime in the Czech Republic. Yeah. So we couldn't travel freely at the time, and we were in sort of scarcity. So, for example, the sanitary pads, when I started to menstruate, they were those thick blocks. I don't know if you still had it at the time. I was 13, so if I counted right, it was in 1988. Yeah, something when I started to menstruate. And we had no idea about tampons at the time. Yeah. And so the only thing I learned before I started to menstruate was that at school, we were divided boys and girls, and the girls were told, you will have your period. It means blood is coming out of your vagina. It's dirty. It will smell, so you shall hide the sanitary pads well, and you shall not swim at the time. And it may be painful, and it will last for about 30 years, but the pain may disappear when you give birth to children. Yeah. So this is what we were told. And the boys then came and, I don't know what they were told at the time. Uh, so this was like in the 7th grade when we learned this. And soon later I started to menstruate and I remember it really well. I could see the little brown spots on my pajamas. And so I came to my mom and I showed her and she said, well, you're menstruating. So give me the pajamas and the sanitary pads are there in the bathroom. And that was it. That was it. And I'm sort of okay. And only later I realized how much I missed, or not only me, but the whole generation and also the generation of my moms and my grandmas. Yeah, because we weren't we weren't given the right care becoming women. Yeah, we were told it is like it's the nuisance, it's the curse. Yeah, not it's the gift, it's the power.
Yep.
And so this is what happened for me. And this is a story that I could hear from my clients and participants of my courses. I heard it hundreds of times during the years. And I often heard something similar even from women from the States or Canada. So this seems to be a more universal experience.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but what happened then? I started to have a very painful period. When I was like 10 years later, I finished my university studies and I started to teach there. And my period started to be really terrible. Yeah. It was painful. I had cramps. I didn't want to have it. I wanted to be a man. I wanted to be just linear. And it was obvious because, I didn't want to have a child at the time. So for me, my reproduction cycle was really a nuisance. And of course, I
Mhm.
was told it is so. Yeah, I didn't know. I thought my cycle is the period. I didn't know that my cycle is not the period, sorry, this period, but it's the 4 phases. And with the 4 phases, I have all the superpowers. I learned only like 10 years later.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously it has made a huge impact in your life to understanding those 4 phases. And you've incorporated that in your life. And once you incorporate, I mean, as we had talked off before we started recording, you were on vacation and we kind of joked that you were more in your ovulation phase. You wanted to go, you wanted to do stuff. And the individuals you were with were like, nope, we just want to we want to just sit and relax. So they were
Yes.
more in the low energy menstrual. And you found that happy medium a little bit with enjoying the conversation and enjoying the water and just enjoying their company. How did you kind of learn about the cycles and then incorporate that into your life, the phases, your cycle, how the cycle has those phases, and then incorporate it into your life, and then incorporated it and helped so many women and men understand how the body works, how the XX chromosome female body works, and why our periods aren't our superpowers. Our cycle is our
Yeah.
superpower.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, as I said, it was a little bit long story because about being 25, I hated my menstruation. Then I turned 30 and I decided I want to get pregnant. And because I was on the pill for 10 years, there was no cycle. Or there was probably a cycle, but there was no menstruation. Yeah, because my body wasn't just ready. So fortunately, within half a year, it happened, and I got pregnant. I was pregnant. I was breastfeeding my son for a long time. And there were very strange synchronicities from the universe because I was really breastfeeding him for a long time and I didn't have my period. And when it came, and it took 5 years, on the same day that I got my first period, yeah, my friend came and she brought me a DVD with a documentary film by a Slovak documentarist, and it's called Moon Inside You. And it was all about the power of our period. Yeah. And I watched it, and there were 4 kids of hers running around my kid, and I just was paying attention to the film because suddenly I realized how much power is in our cycle and in our menstruation and in the menstrual blood. Yes. So this was the moment when something clicked, something happened, something that was supposed to be on my way. Because since then it was like, okay, menstruation, whatever. Yeah. And suddenly I started to observe it more. And another friend brought me a book that was called The Red Moon. I have the Czech version of it. It's by Miranda Grace. She's from England. She's British. And this was the first book I read about it, and I learned about the phases. And I started to observe it. And because I was already in business at the time, I also observed how it impacts my business, my work performance. Yeah. And I realized, it really does impact it. And for me, for example, I was working at the time, I was working as a translator and a proofreader. So there were days when I could be sitting by the computer and I was like a machine. I was in total flow. I could translate, I could write sentences. It was just perfect. I needed no proofreading after that. Yeah. And then there were days when I was like, oh, I don't want to be sitting here. I want to do something else. And I was, with my kid and in the garden and talking to friends and procrastinating. And I didn't know why. I was telling myself that I'm lazy, that I'm terrible, that, there's something wrong with me because I couldn't be linear. And why, I started to study the cyclic changes in my body, I realized this is totally okay. Because, when I am in the ovulation phase, just as you said, I want to be with people. I do not want to be sitting by the computer. Yeah. And I can find ways how to be with my menstrual kids, even if it's my son, who's definitely not menstrual, but he's just in the menstrual mood. Uh, because ovulation is all about care and encompassing everyone. And yeah. So, and then it was the premenstrual time when I was so focused and so in flow and so creative that it was the best time for me to translate or to create whatever. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it started like that. And then we because I took that film and gave it to my friend, and she gave it to another friend of hers, and that friend started a project that was called Moon Inside You. So we gathered together and we started to give lectures, and then we decided to translate into Czech another Miranda's books, which is The Optimized Woman, and in Czech it came out as the Cyclical or Cyclic Woman. Uh, and because I had a publishing house at the time already, so we translated it and we published it, and somehow it stayed with me. I founded a project of the same name, and it was in 2013 when the book was published. And since then, it has reached really hundreds of thousands of women in the Czech and Slovak republics, and even men. Yeah, and through the course of the following years, even men were coming to me, and then they wanted to know about how they can understand the unpredictable women around them. So I wrote a book for them uh, with my partner at the time, Eric. And recently, I also wrote a book for girls. This is a story of my first menstruation, and it's explaining not only the menstrual stuff, the biological stuff, but also the phases, so that young girls can understand how they can utilize it at school, when they want to have good grades, or when they want to communicate with their peers, be it male or female, or with their parents, with their siblings, because it's also important. Yeah, so this is the story basically.
And it is a beautiful story, and I understand where you were at, and I understand a lot of us want to be linear. We because we were taught that our periods are just for reproduction. It's not good. It's not needed for anything else. Um, but we're having all of these issues surrounding it. I'm sure you've seen it. There's a huge, huge boom out there for those that are in perimenopause and menopause or going into menopause on how to help alleviate the symptoms of these things. Would cyclical living help those that are in perimenopause as well as
Yeah,
menopause? That
yeah.
can they use this system as well?
Yeah, well, there are two things I want to say to this point. So, the thing is that you are cyclical if you menstruate or not. So you may be pregnant, you may be breastfeeding as I was, you may be perimenopausal and having, the cycles longer. You may be after menopause. Yeah, you may be after surgery, and still you are cyclical and you are going through all these four phases. Yeah. The only difference is that you do not have the bleeding as such. Yeah. And also when you are on the pill, it may be without the bleeding, or bleeding is not the proper menstrual bleeding. Yeah. But still the cycle is there, and it may be a little bit more difficult to tell which phase or which day you are at. Yeah, but it can be done, and I wrote an article. I have a test, so you can test yourself. Uh, so this is one thing, and the other one is, before you start to have those hormonal changes before your menstruation ends, if you start to embrace your cyclical living in all areas of your life, it will ease the menopausal um, stuff that is going on. Because you can also think about the phases, not only they are not only during the month, but they are during the day. Like this would be the morning, this would be the noon and afternoon, this would be the evening. This is a premenstrual, and a night is the menstrual time. Yeah. So you have also, and it can be like spring, summer, fall, and winter, but it can also be like the time when you are a young maiden, when you are a mother. This is the ovulation phase. And then you are becoming the wise woman, the enchantress. and that's the premenstrual phase of your life. So that is the one with the menopause. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it can be really a great time in your life once you are okay with it, once you understand it. So I know that women who love their cyclic changes, they have less problems with menopausal symptoms. I don't know if it's also your experience with your
Yep.
clients, but
Absolutely. I see it as well with those that I work with, those that I talk to, when they're like, "Oh, I got rid of that bleeding thing years ago," and I look at them, I said, "You're still cycling," and they're like, "What?" And I and when I explain to them, they're like, "Oh, I was wondering why I didn't want to do anything yesterday, but 3, 4 days before, I was all over the place. I was knocking out that to-do list like nothing." I was like, "Mhm.
yes,
Yep.
dynamic
That's
phase.
why you are
Yes.
still a cyclical being." I I've noticed it that's once kind of puberty has kind of kicked in. Um, Usually after the first cycle, once you start bleeding is kind of where all of this cyclical stuff starts picking up and starts becoming more noticeable.
Yeah.
Um, I some have seen it prior to that first period because I know some moms,
Yeah.
once
Yeah.
puberty starts, they're like, "Oh my gosh, my daughter was an absolute nightmare this weekend." And
Yes.
I'd look I I have a neighbor. I asked her how it's going because I know her. I've watched her daughter change over the past school year, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, my daughter was a nightmare. She was just moody." And I was like, "Mhm.
Hmm.
How is she today?" "She's better today." Like, okay. And I've seen on Facebook posts. They're like, "Oh my gosh, my daughter." I was like, "Is she getting ready to have her period?" And
Yeah.
the mom came back and she goes, "Oh my gosh, I never would have put 2 and 2 together. She just got her period today and she's a completely different child."
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So it starts actually when puberty starts 2 years before that first menarche. You start seeing those changes.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And we should be taught this, and we are not. Yeah.
And that's why I love working with the teens and the preteens because I want to that's where a lot of my joy comes into play. Um, but with the cyclical living, you've talked about the phases a little bit. You've mentioned about the not necessarily the moon, but the seasons and even the maiden, the mother, the wise woman, and then
Yeah.
would you share a little bit more on those phases and what to kind of where they fit, like the menstrual phase, and what they would experience possibly in the menstrual phase, the follicular phase, the ovulation phase, the luteal phase, just to give listeners a little bit of an idea on what we're talking about with cyclical living and phases and how to incorporate that into our lives.
Yeah. 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 So I'll use this magnet.
Mhm.
It's a magnet I devised a long time ago, and you can put it in a fridge, and the whole family knows. And it also reminds you where you are. So this says like the ovulation phase. I am empathetic and listening. I care for myself and others. I am feminine and sensual. I am full of love. Yeah. So we basically have these four phases, just like we have four seasons of the year. And I love to compare it to that because it's easy. And I love to start with the dynamic one, which is the spring. Yeah. And this one comes after menstruation, comes after winter. And it means we have a lot of energy. We want to go out. We want to be out there in the world. We want to start new projects. We want to be working. This is very much masculine phase. Yeah, if we go into masculine and feminine energies of the phases, so this one is like the most masculine, and we also can talk to men in their way, in their language. So this is a great time. For example, when you are working with men, they will understand you because you'll be speaking their male language. Yeah. And if on the other hand, they come to you and they say, well, there is this new project or new task or challenging task. Are you willing? You would be like, oh, wonderful. Give me more. Yeah. Because we have plenty of energy. And even your husband, can come to you. And what about vacation in New Zealand for a month, going hiking? And he would be like, wonderful, let's go right now. And then if he would come in 2 weeks' time when you are premenstrual, it would be like, what do you think? Are you crazy? Totally crazy? New Zealand, a month? Who will be with our kids? And what about, the household and the dog and the garden? Yeah. So it would be totally different opinion. So it's really great when the men know which phase we women are at. So this is the dynamic phase. We are really dynamic. And I love to call it, I took the names from Miranda, and I love to call it that, not the hormonal terms, because dynamic really means dynamic. Yeah. Then we go to ovulation phase, which comes with the ripening of the egg. The egg is ready to meet the sperm, and we change. We are totally feminine during this time of the month. Yeah. It's usually the shortest. It's about 4 days. But fortunately, the phases, if you can see it here, it's not like, the color goes into the next color straight. We can have both. We can be both dynamic and a little bit of ovulation, and then it goes into full ovulation, and then it changes into a little bit premenstrual, and then it goes to full premenstrual. Yeah. So this is how it goes. So we can have more days of the wonderful ovulation time. And as I said already, we love to care for others. We love to care for ourselves. So we dress up. We want to look good because we are on the search for the right father for our child, on the subconscious level, of course, very often. Yeah. It's a great time to go shopping, even with your daughters, because you will have great time. Do not take your daughters in their premenstrual time. It won't be a great time.
No,
Yeah.
it will be.
Yeah. It's a great time to go to vacation with your children because you'll be just okay with whatever. Yeah. We are in great mood. Yeah. Our hormones are high. We are high on serotonin. So we see the world in pink colors. Yeah. So this is a great time. Then what comes is the time or the phase that is not so much loved by many people, and I say people because I mean both women and men. And it is because we can be moody because our serotonin goes down, and it means we are moodier, yeah, at the time. And we also can have the other PMS symptoms like different aches, belly ache, backache, migraine, whatever. Yeah. But this doesn't have to be. Yeah. I was there. I know it. But once I realized what a gift this phase actually is, because we are immensely creative. I call it either premenstrual, but as Miranda calls it, it's the creative phase. We are in the flow. When I wrote this book in 10 days of my premenstrual phase. I was just like sitting here and downloading what was to be written. And I did only minor adjustments on it. Yeah. And when I want to write an article for my blog or anything, or I want to create a video, a script for the video, I do it in this space because I'm unstoppable. I do it until I finish it. That's a great thing. You do not finish things and tasks usually in the dynamic phase. You start them just like nature. Yeah. Nature starts with the leaves and the flowers, but the end, the finishing, the fruits come in fall. So this is the fall. Yeah. The premenstrual time is the fall. So I love it. And I'm so full of ideas. It comes to me. We are connected with our subconscious. We are connected to the library, Universal Library, so we can download whatever. We are really the enchantresses. And I love this space. And when I started to love it, everything changed. Now it's the best time of my month. I want it to be like even longer. Yeah. And it actually, for me, it starts about day 15 already. Yeah. It's like we have the Indian summer. In between summer and fall, you have the Indian summer. So from day 15 till day, let's say 18, 19, it's the Indian summer. So it's the best combination of my ovulation energies and my premenstrual energies. I'm still like loving life, but at the same time, I want to work. I am focused. I want to finish stuff. So I love it. I love it. And since then, I have no problems. I have no symptoms, pain, mood. Why should I? I love this space. So, and the final one is the menstrual time. That's when we start bleeding. And this is something that I call the night of the month. And I always say that if we want to live happy, cyclical life and be also successful in our businesses as women, we need to respect that our body needs rest during this night of the month. Yeah. Because if you do not sleep, and when you have kids, there are nights when you do not get sleep, you are tired the next day, you are overwhelmed, everything, the sounds, the smells. Ah, yeah. So, and this happens when you do not get rest during the menstrual time. It not only happens for the next day, but for the next month. Yes. And you may be tired the whole month, and women say, "Well, I do not have a dynamic phase." And I say, "Yeah, you feel like premenstrual all the time." "Yes, how do you know it?" And I say, "Well, have you rested?" "No." And once you do not rest for like several periods and maybe several years, then you end up with burnout. So, but it's so easy to give yourself a day of a rest, or maybe just 1 hour, go to bed earlier, or get up later, or ask your husband to take the kids, or your mother to be with them for a day or two. It doesn't have to be like, I am bleeding for 7 days, so I will have to be resting for 7 days. No, you can manage even as a mother of 8 kids. I have my cyclical lecturers, and one of them has 8 kids. And when she's menstruating, it's like, "Oh, guys, I'm menstruating, so cook for yourselves." And they land, they land, and it's wonderful because they have their responsibilities and they feel they are beneficial for the whole family. It doesn't have to be always the mother doing everything. That's wrong, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I did a recent presentation, and I had a woman who teaches classes, and she's like, I don't have time to take a day off. I don't have time to take a nap. I know a lot of the women in this room, they're CEOs, they're high achievers. How and they don't have time to take the day off because they have so many responsibilities. How can we do this?" And I said, "Well, one, you wake up and you know it's possibly going to take you longer to get ready. Give yourself that extra time. Go to bed earlier the night before. Get your rest. Take your time getting ready. You can tell yourself, hey, I need to teach for the next X number of hours. When you're done teaching or when you're doing that absolute must do stuff, you go home and you rest. And that is because your body wants to rest. You're giving your body what it is looking for." And she's like, "Oh, that's all I have to do?" I said, "That's a big chunk of it for that phase."
Yes.
Yes, it's allowing your body to rest so that way when you do get into that dynamic phase, you have the dynamic. And she's like, "Oh, that
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense."
Yes.
I was like, "Yeah, it does."
Yeah. You know what I use with these high achievers, and I am one of them. So you can imagine how much blood goes out of your body during menstrual time, during
Mhm,
menstrual phase. If women were men, there would be calling an ambulance,
mhm,
be it, so much blood getting out of their bodies. And we are trying, losing this much blood, we are trying to be normal. We are trying to be performing, high performing. Yeah.
mhm.
Uh, but it's not the time. It's not the time for the body. It's real. We are really bleeding. We are losing our vital energy, and the body needs to recover from this. And this is actually a story from my friend. She used to be a manager for 200 women, probably women, men. Uh, but she was like, okay, I have to be, there working every day the same. And then she realized that, she's really losing blood.
Mhm.
And she changed her opinion and attitude to it. Yeah. And I can tell one story. I was once giving a lecture at a conference for women, for female entrepreneurs. And I was talking about how important it is to get rest, at least a bit of rest during our menstrual time. And after me, there should have been a lecture by my friend, and she was a CEO of the company that was organizing the conference. So she was, organizing it for weeks already. And instead of her, on the stage appeared the owner of the company, and he said, "Well, Bohdana is menstruating today. She's day 2, and she's really tired. And once she listened to Dana-Sofie's presentation, she decided she will take a rest and send me on the stage, so I'll be here." And it was such a wonderful moment. The women in the audience, they loved it so much because they realized, even though I should be here on the stage, I dare not to be there. And there's always a way how, someone else can cover for me. Yeah.
Yep.
And even years later, they were coming to me and said, "Well, we listened to this and we saw what happened and we are okay with it and we are not so pushy with ourselves." And they are happier, they are healthier, because once you give yourself the rest, imagine really you weren't sleeping 1 night, 2 nights, you would be dead by the end of the week or 2 weeks. But we are trying to do this to our bodies when we menstruate.
Yep. That is so true. And like you said, once individuals understand how beneficial this is, and they actually implement parts of it, they're like, oh, that little bit helped. Then they add a little bit more, and they're like, well, why didn't I know this sooner? Why didn't I do this sooner? Uh, so yes, it is life changing, and to have kudos to the gentleman that came on stage and allowed your friend to say, "You know what? I'm not." Because I know that there
Yeah.
are listeners that are like, My male boss would never, ever do that for me. He'd tell me, "Get your butt on that stage. I don't care. As long as you're not vomiting or dying or something really
Yeah.
out there, get your butt up on the stage. I don't care." Um,
Well,
but it's
yeah.
we have to stand our ground. One, we have to understand ourselves, but then we have to stand our ground and actually educate our for them to understand. And I think once we have that understanding, complete I tell my son this. He's like, "Mom, I don't want to hear about cycles." I said, "I understand that. However, by you understanding this menstrual cycle and the phases, it'll allow you to be a better friend, a better partner, a better parent, a better coworker, and a better leader." And he
Yes.
just kind of looked at me like, "It'll really help me do all that." I said, "Yes, it will help you be better at all of that because you're understanding that we are not linear.
Yeah.
You've seen mommy at her best, You've seen mommy be the lovable, outgoing, fun, play in the mud, play in the dirt, play in the pond, catching frogs and stuff. Mommy. And you've seen mommy monster, which I don't like to be. I do not like to be mommy monster. I see myself being mommy monster and I do not like her at all. And they don't like her. So they've now known that if my voice goes down, goes very soft, and I say, boys, please be quiet for just the next 10 minutes. They know that mommy monster is going to come out. So they've learned. And now my son's correlating this with the phases. And this has been like a 2-year journey. I've only started really putting this into play over the last 2.5 years. So, but I've noticed a huge difference with my children and in my life. And I love that you have shared this with so many individuals in Eastern Europe, the Czech, Slovakia. Before we head out, or actually, if people want to work with you, you've got some stuff that's going on. I think you've got your programs.
Yeah,
Can you
yeah,
tell us a
yeah.
little bit about your programs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I recently started a program in English because I have a lot of stuff in Czech. As you see, I have all the books and all the different magnets. Some of them are in English. The magnets are actually in English. The books are not, unfortunately. But I think I have to write them anew a little bit because some of the stuff that is in there is like culture based,
Mhm.
yeah, culture biased. But I've been an entrepreneur for my whole life since I finished university, since I was 25. And so best I understand women like me who are working, having their own businesses. Uh, and so now I put together a 4-month program that's called the Cycle Success Method. And it's all about how you can utilize the phases in your business so you feel great, you start earning even more money because you know when to do what. You start to attract better clients because you are more in alignment with yourself, with your true self. Yeah. And your body feels great the whole month. And you do not have those times like, oh, I hate my business, or I cannot work today. I have such a migraine. What can I do? Who shall do it for me? Yeah, I'm totally lost. Yeah, whatever comes, because I know women, and especially those high achievers, they have days like this,
Mhm.
and these days can disappear for good. Once you understand that you are cyclical, that you change, and that you start observing your cycle. And of course, we work with the subconscious beliefs that we have. I have some methods that it can help you get rid of these beliefs. And what I also love to work with is dreams. Uh, Apart from cycles being my passion, dreams are my passion. And they are the language of subconscious. So very often when we have these subconscious beliefs, they come up in the dreams. And once you know how to decipher, how to interpret what's came up in the dream, we can move to a whole new level in your business because you are becoming a new woman. Yeah. So this is what we do. It takes 4 months, or sometimes we work longer because the clients usually want to. They fall in love with observing their cycle. We have some tools that help them to observe the cycle. I call it the cyclic map.
Mhm.
And they really then they understand, like, day one, I feel like this. I'm tired. I do not want to do anything. I do not want to be in the world. I don't want to be talking to anybody. And it is okay. Yeah. Day 13, I need sex. Find me a man. Day 22, oh, again, it's here. The world is a terrible place to live at. Everything is wrong. Yeah. So they start to understand it, and they start to understand that it's really changing and it's coming the same after 28 or 30 days.
Mhm.
And they start blaming themselves that they are lazy or procrastinating or stupid or whatever. Yeah. And even what improves. Recently, I had a client, and she's still with me because she really loves she loves the cyclical work. And she came to me and said, "Well, I'm working with my boyfriend, and we are living together, of course, yeah, and we are raising a child together, and he doesn't understand my phases. What can we do?" So we work both in like the professional business level and in their partnership level. And after 4 months, during her menstrual period, menstrual time, which used to be the worst time for her, he proposed. Yeah.
That is so awesome. It
Yeah, yeah.
really is.
And now sometimes he even comes and says, "Well, I am premenstrual today and I want to be angry." Yes. Ah.
Oh my goodness, I love it. Where can people find you
Yeah,
on social media?
they can find me on all social media like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. And it's my name, Dana-Sofie Slancarova. You'll put it down so that they can find it. And
Absolutely.
I also have my website.
Mhm.
And I will give you also a link to one of my articles that is about how you can tell which phase you are in, even though you are not menstruating. I have it on my blog. And then I have also some download, some freebies on my website. So I'll give you links to that. There is I prepare for you how you can plan your cyclical month in just 1 minute. Yeah,
I love that.
that's my method I have been using for years, and it really helps me plan whatever I do. And sometimes it is like even they call me to present on TV, and I say, "Well, no, I'm not coming because I'll be menstruating. So can you wait for 2 weeks when I'm ovulational?" And they say, "Yeah, sure."
Yep. And you have that power. They want you on there.
Yes,
You have that
yes,
power.
yes.
But before we head out, do you have any wise words of wisdoms to leave us on?
Well, I'd say that it's never too late to start observing your cycle. I have women who are over 50 and they're saying, "Oh, well, I've lived my whole life without a cycle, and I'm so sorry that I didn't know about this cyclical stuff earlier." And I say, "Well, you're cyclical all the time, no matter if you menstruate or not. So if you are one of these women, just do and start to observe how you change and what your moods are, what your strengths are, how you feel. And well, it's as I say, it's never too late."
I love that. Thank you so much for that, Donna Sophie, for taking us on this enlightening journey into cyclical living. Oh my goodness. I loved having you on here and sharing all of this information, knowing that we can put this into our lives no matter where we are, age wise. Moms can help their daughters understand this. Moms can help this. Moms can help their mothers understand this. And it's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. And I'm so happy that I could be here with you because we spoke before. And I know that you are doing the same work just in a different part of the world. I'm so happy that, there are the sparks that ignite the huge fire of cyclical living for all women around the world.
Yep. I love that we are able to collaborate in this way and share this message. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing. All the links that Donna Sophie shared are in the show notes. Thank you, listeners, for spending your time with us today. If you found a nugget of wisdom or a moment of empowerment, my mission is accomplished. Do you know someone that could benefit from this information? Please share Embracing Flow with them. Until next time, my friends, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividous. See you soon.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Embracing Flow. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow the show, submit a rating and review, and share it with your friends. Visit my website to receive your free PDF on 4 ways to decrease PMS. The link is in the show notes. Until next time, love hard, laugh often, and as always, be vividous.
Information shared on the Embracing Flow podcast is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice.